Here is the title of today's topic, the shift from digitalization, from targeting to talent. Now, of course, all of you are focused on the whole range of everything you're doing, from targeting through to how you can be creative. And today we're going to have three different parts and hear three completely different perspectives on the whole digital landscape. So this will be a very different session to, I think, anything you've seen here at ATM. I will explain what's going on the wall here if you've just joined. But this is a participative session, so I'm actively encouraging you to take part in that. So we're going to do it in three parts. The first part is about digital transformation in travel. I'm going to share with you some findings from some of the research that we've been doing with businesses and destinations about what transformation means to them. The second part is about getting smart with ad spend. We have two great guys I'm going to introduce to you in just a second. They will be joining on stage for their second part, and they will be taking the little guys, small business perspective, off-the-shelf marketing, through to the big guys. How do you use big data and really target based on booking and insights? So really, really good stuff there. And then the third one is your challenges answered. And we're going to have a very, very cool session where we're going to answer any questions that you have related to your marketing challenges, including some of the ones we have there. And we're going to get into a really good discussion on that. So, I'm Nick Hall. I'm the founder of the Digital Tourism Think Tank. We've been doing things at ATM for a number of years now. And we work with both businesses and destinations all over, especially Europe and Middle East and Africa. And we're trying to help them to be more innovative, more creative, and to really stay ahead of the trends in digital. I will ask Avi maybe to stand up, and then he's going to join us on stage a little bit later on. Avi Arya, he's from Internet Moguls. He is fully branded here today. And if you don't know Avi, he's got quite a YouTube following. And he has an Ask Avi video series where he answers any of your questions. So he's going to do one live in the third part. And then we also have Josh Beckwith, who's working with Sojourn here in the region. And Josh and Sojourn have worked with us for quite a long time. And they really are great partners of a lot of the travel industry, giving them great data insights and helping them target there. So we're going to hear some fascinating insights from Josh when Josh and Avi take those two different perspectives later on. But I'm going to start by kicking off and talking about transformation. Now, I guess transformation is something that you're all quite conscious of. You've probably heard it bandied around quite a lot. And sometimes people use it just as a buzzword. Other times people use it as a hook. We use it more as an exploration to understand what digital is doing and how it's disrupting the everyday business models. And I'm going to talk to you today about some very practical things that we think you guys should be doing when it comes to actually transforming how you work. And one thing I should say is transformation means different things to different people. So it's really important to kind of understand that perspective. Just a quick show of hands. Who here is working in a marketing team? Oh, not many. Who here is a blogger? One? Cool. Two, three. Okay. And who's the CEO? The big boss? Okay, great. So there's a bit of something for everybody here. And I'm going to sort of touch on all those different things. But first of all, and I've got my friendly helper here from the Reed and ATM team who's going to hand out some sticky notes. I can see they're being used as a tripod. but we'll see what we do there. What I want you to do, I did say we're going to make this interactive. We're going to ideate around your biggest problems. So we're going to hand out sticky notes, if you haven't already done it. And I want you to write down your biggest strategic and your biggest marketing challenge onto a sticky note. It can be one word or two or three words. And of course, it's anonymous. Once they come back, we don't know who wrote them. And I have a team in London that is going to develop ideas and thoughts and solutions around whatever you say. So they are literally on hand, and they're about to start working as soon as I send them a snap. So this is going to be really different and cool. And it also means you have to stick around to see what they produce. So it's a bit of a trick, right? So here's a little video of the girl who's part of our expert team who's going to be doing all the ideation in London. I asked her this morning to send me this video. So she's literally just sent it 5 minutes ago. So this is what she has to say.
Hi Nick. Hi ATM Dubai. I'm Emma. I'm a creative. Hi Nick. Hi ATM Dubai. I'm Emma. I'm a creative director and part of the DTTT expert team. The expert team is basically a group of people who extend the core DTTT team. We all have unique skills and things that we can offer to their clients, really practical hands-on skills as well as more strategic skills. My skills lie mainly in digital transformation. I have a history in that, in branding, and in new technology, so things like chatbots, wearable tech. I'm really excited about things like that and how they'll change the future of our companies and our destinations. So I am in London. It's not really as sunny and warm as it is there in Dubai, apparently. Thanks, Nick. But I will be remotely solving your digital transformation challenges. So I'll be having half an hour to do that. I'll select one strategic and one tactical from the ones you put up on the wall. And I will be solving those for you within half an hour. It's something we do really often at the DTTT. We are constantly solving challenges for people. So it'll be a challenge to do it in half an hour, but we'll do our best. So great to meet you all. Throw your challenges at me. Do the really difficult ones. I'm ready, my brain's ready for today. And I will speak to you soon.
Great. So she really is ready to do that. This is the canvas. It's blank right now. And by the end of the session, fingers crossed, it will be full of really, really good ideas. Make sure, has everyone got sticky notes? So we're going to pass around and collect them back off of you. And we're going to stick them on the wall. And then I'm going to send a photo of this to our team in London. So let me carry on with digital transformation and tell you a bit more about that. When we look at transformation, we look at it across 4 different pillars, because these are the 4 key aspects that every organization has to be thinking about, whatever you do, by the way. Governance, so how do you actually manage that organization? Funding, of course, what is the budget, but also where are you putting your money? Where are you splitting your money between creative, between marketing, between the brand, and between the customer experience? Engagement, obviously, a lot of what you're coming to here is to understand how you can create better, stronger relationships with your customers. And we heard yesterday about content marketing and how important it is to really move far beyond just view metrics, but really try and aim for measurements that actually tell you how engaged people are with your brand. And also innovation. How are you making sure that you're not out of the market within 2 years because either a new technology comes along or your competitors, perhaps with big global headquarters, are innovating ahead of you, and they're actually adapting their brand continuously based on how the consumers are changing. So 4 really key things here. I'm just going to take a few key takeaways that we have from our research on all of these. So when it comes to governance, we're seeing a huge shift in culture, in mindset, in how people are thinking about digital. And we're talking a lot about shifting to flatter hierarchies, small teams of maximum 5 people that can develop quick solutions, that can work intensely. Being a more collaborative company, asking your teams to be part of the company, take a sense of ownership, then they will deliver great results for you. Also working more dynamically, so everything is changing very, very quickly. That means nobody surely has a marketing strategy that's more than a few months old. You need to have a broad strategy, but you need to adapt continuously within that. And then, of course, removing obstacles. This is something that government really, working hard to get ahead around, but they have a lot of obstacles. How do you go through a whole procurement process without, by the time you've actually procured it, it's completely out of date and irrelevant? And we're seeing that, when it comes to collaborative tools, we believe that collaborative tools can change everything about how you work. We actually, I will show you in a minute, we replicate what we want to see in a physical workspace into a digital workspace using some really cool tools. But when we surveyed, we found that 18% of the respondents weren't using any tools at all, not even Google Drive, by the way. We found when we interviewed cities that 42% did use collaborative tools as part of one department in the whole organization. So they hadn't adopted it, say, outside of the marketing team. And 23% said they were essential for their organization. Moving on to funding, we found a big problem with people making the case for digital. I really do not understand why it's so hard to get a message through about how important digital is in every aspect of what you're doing. And fighting for those budgets as well, to spend money in digital, still seems to be a big battle. We see a lot of people still trying to convince them, don't spend the same, the money on paper advertising. This is not going to give you the ROI you're looking for. But also demonstrating new trends and how you want to invest your budget into that. We see a big question around ROI. It comes up all the time, every day, every week. And, people are always looking for a quick answer, and it doesn't exist. So yesterday in the panel, we discussed this topic. And actually, what we finally, thankfully, established is that there is no silver bullet for ROI. Actually, the marketing landscape is very, very fragmented. You as a company will have a whole array of goals you should have, from we want to grow our brand and ensure that this new market is aware of who we are and what we do and what we stand for. I can give you a good example. I stayed in the Rove Hotels. It's a new kind of mid-market brand in Dubai by Ema. So that's a new brand that's entering the scene. There's an awareness process that needs to come into play there, which is not necessarily about driving bookings tomorrow. And then, of course, working between the CMO, the Chief Marketing Officer, and the Chief Financial Officer, and actually measuring their different objectives and being able to sort of establish where it is that your organization needs to go. So we saw, amazingly, this was amongst cities, amazingly, the majority were spending 25% or less of their budgets on digital. I still can't believe this, but they answered that. So I guess we have to trust what people say. But that does seem almost unbelievable. So let's move on to engagement. Big questions that people are having around ambassadors. I think a lot of people are now working, for example, with influencers. And they've sort of started to get into that. But there's not so many people that are working really successfully and effectively with influencers. Because I think if I caught a bit of the last session, there's some good discussion about having good agreements, working out what good branded content is, what a good contractual agreement is between you and a blogger. Not just having bloggers, letting them go loose and then having no expectations about what they're going to deliver. And also the whole research that comes into that process. You don't want to be responding to people who contact you. You want to be going out there and actually identifying the people who are right for your brand. So again, it's all about how you work. It's not so much about, that influencers are important, but how do you do that process really successfully? And then, are you identifying people who your brand resonates with them, who will engage with the message that's coming up? So amplifying the core brand values that are central to what you communicate. We saw that more than 60% of the destinations we surveyed said that creating content every single day was really important to them. And what's surprising is how difficult it is. It's not surprising, but it's surprising how it hasn't been established for so many companies that they need to prioritize and make daily content creation part of their DNA, part of what they do. So when it comes to innovation, innovation is hugely important. We see companies like Google have their sort of 5% time where they give their staff, a little bit of time to innovate. And you can do this whether you're a 2- or 3-person business by having, say, an away day to just develop fresh ideas, to look at the competitors, to look at the trends and say, what's interesting for us? What could we be doing? What have we seen over 1 year of analytics that's worked and what hasn't worked? And how can we rethink about our approach, just focus on the things that worked? Stepping back, taking time, and actually looking at trends and seeing what is possible with them is a really, really big opportunity. Now, I'm definitely not one to tell you to jump on every new trend, although we do have some Snapchat spectacles with us today, and Avi's going to be wearing them later on. Maybe you want to do some snaps now, actually. Let's do some trend stuff right now. So, don't jump on every single new trend. But what I would say is explore the trends that you think are relevant and interesting for you. There we go. So, explore every trend. You have to press the button. There we go. So explore every trend that you think is interesting for you and evaluate what you can do with that. Because, some of the best examples, in often small businesses as well, are those that have got onto something early, right at the point where it's taking off. And they've been the first, and they've also been the only ones. I tell you a trend that came out of yesterday's session, which is an amazing trend, is creating content in Arabic. That is a trend that nobody else is jumping on right now. And what we saw from our panel was, what an amazing opportunity. When you have such huge growth in social media engagement and such little adapted and relevant content, that's a big opportunity. So okay, this looks like a lot, right? But we do a lot of case studies, and this is a case study that we did with Singapore Tourism. So I've zoomed right in. Now, you don't even need to read the details. I've zoomed into the headlines from our fact sheet. So we do like a 30, 45-minute interview plus a whole write-up. And what I've just zoomed into is the key points that came away from that interview. So Singapore Tourism are changing their entire way of working. And the key things that came out of it was we need to be more data-driven, massively more data-driven. So they're building an entire data infrastructure and warehouse so they can really process, analyze, make decisions, and base all their marketing decisions on data. Also, they're looking at how they can really become a service, create a service distribution platform. They're looking at their marketing competencies in-house, and they're really radically changing the people they have and how they work with those people. Also hiring in the right type of creative talent that they need. And they're also evaluating and sharing insights more and more with their own teams internally, which is really key. And so when we move on to what that means in terms of the impact for the organization, they are focusing on becoming a more agile organization, focusing on getting the right stories, the right engagement with the right influencers, and the right methods of delivery, understanding that sometimes organic content is great, but sometimes great content needs a push as well, especially if you want to reach the right market. Also looking at the infrastructure they have. So, what are they doing when it comes to marketing technology? A lot of people are using very basic tools, and a company like that should really be considering what they're using as a omni-channel marketing technology, which can really do great things for them. And then, of course, the competencies, as I already said. Okay, so now I'm going to deep dive, or maybe shallow dive, depending on what you're looking for, into the 6 solutions that we think are really key. This is seriously strategic. In the next session, or the next part, you're going to hear very, very tactical aspects to this. So the first is, I'm losing my voice here. The first is conscious leadership. So conscious leadership is, it's an approach that is really, really worth every single person adopting. It's not about the CEO. It's not even about the senior members of your team. It's a way of thinking that everybody within an organization should focus on adopting. It's being conscious of the positive contribution that you can make to the output of what you do. It's about shifting away from blaming everything. I don't have enough budget. I don't have enough money. I don't have enough support. My boss doesn't agree with what I do. Of course, these are all challenges, but you're in the position yourself to change those perceptions, to push back, to convince people, and actually make things work when they're not working. So this is a really key thing. Sorry. I did this video, and this video I did on a mobile phone. I actually need some water here. So let me just pull up the information, and then I'll have some water. So taking 100% responsibility, saying versus doing, avoiding blame game, and shifting to flatter structures. Oh. Okay, sorry about that. So, skipping forward. So, conscious leadership is really, really key. I just wanted to show you that video as well, because I did this on a mobile phone within 10 minutes of a workshop finishing. And it's a small example of the little role that you can play in being part of your story, and not just stepping back and saying, I need someone else to be doing this. Let's skip forwards. Okay, second is design thinking. Design thinking. Who's doing design thinking within their companies? One person. 2. And what's it done for your company? I'm just getting some water. What has design thinking done for your company and how you work?
Well, just in the manner of having everything planned out strategically, in my understanding would be design thinking. So basically laying out everything beforehand as you do it. Exactly what you were stating yesterday, basically.
Okay. Yeah, so design thinking, it's going through a process. It's not just jumping in at the trend or the tech, but it's thinking every stage of that through. And this is something that, you can do, and you've probably done it with your agencies, with the people you're working with, but it's something you can also bring right in-house. And this is where there's a big opportunity for teams to build a whole process into how they work. So adopt design thinking. Design solutions to your biggest problems. Start with a problem, and then step backwards, work with a solution, and go through an iteration process. So ideate, prototype, test, fail, and learn. This is really, really key. The third, and this is something that I think is really cool, is thinking about everything in circles. Circular design. Everything you do should go in a loop. Everything you do should connect. There should be a thread that runs through all of your stories, all of your brand, all of your marketing, all of your customer journeys. Ultimately, you should link everything. And you should build a structure within your team to ask yourself if you're building that relationship, you're building that story. So this is like a really big way of thinking, but you need to bring that right up to the leadership of the organization and really try and adopt it. It's really about, everything from the values, do they all link up? Is what we say our brand is about actually happening in the real experience? Are we saying we're an eco brand, but really delivering on that? Are we saying we offer something for this market and then really offering that market what they want? Or are we just marketing to people and not really delivering something that's authentic? Okay, the fourth is agile teams. Now, I spoke already about building smaller teams. A lot of people who are coming from big organizations, they get to a point where they're not effective, they're not creative, they're not innovative. But even the biggest organizations are now realizing that it's important to have small units that can tackle individual challenges and can really take ownership for those. Because when you have small teams, there's a great sense of total ownership over the work and the output. Waterfall is that traditional structure where everything sort of goes down from, it can be the leadership, the management, the marketing. And we're trying to get people to understand that it's important to move to a more horizontal structure. There's all sorts of techniques from scrums to sprints to stand-ups. I can talk to you all about this sort of afterwards. And the key thing is velocity, is actually increasing what you produce. Quicker, faster, bigger, more ideas. And ultimately, that should lead to productivity, because the ideation process, the circular design, the design thinking that you put behind that means you also question everything you do and you iterate it until you have a great result. Okay, fifth is digital enablers. We use a tool called Asana. This is the most amazing digital enabler you could ever imagine. This has changed our productivity tenfold, and we actually produce so much more than we used to produce before we were using it. What we do is we replicate what we want to see in the physical environment into a digital environment so the two reflect each other. And we skip totally away from using email as a communication method internally. So our golden rule is scrap email, no more internal emails, no more Google shared docs with comments. Even that is quite, it's a little bit old way of working. Working iteratively, piece by piece, team by team, and collaboratively. And what you can actually do with a tool like this is take a global team, a global set of offices, or even within a city, different departments, and collaborate really successfully as if you're all sitting next to each other. So we love Asana. And the last is going back to that big question about people and creativity. So, I showed this yesterday. This is one destination we're working with that has 3 very clear and very strong brand strengths. They focus on the beach, they focus on the culture, and they focus on the people. And they consistently tell the same story. So you understand the depth of that brand as you familiarize yourself through different channels. And just want to sort of maybe give you a more real example of what content creation can look like. So I've actually been creating content all day yesterday. And I've been creating content on Snapchat, as well as Facebook content, as well as even this morning, before I dropped my phone in some water. It's now dead, by the way. Yeah, it's completely dead. I even posted stuff onto Twitter, which was like a motion time lapse. Now, I'm not here to do that. I was here to judge the best stands for ATM, which I spent all day doing yesterday, and also to run these sessions, which, as you can see, is quite a lot to coordinate. So, if I'm able to create content on the go all the time, and process it. And I can rely on my team to maybe receive some of the content and edit it or do other things with it. I can continuously tell the story and create buzz around what we do. And so you're going to have to follow me on Snapchat to see the whole thing. So if you do have Snapchat, it's Nick Hall Travel, Nikhall Travel. And you can see the stories. And Avi's glasses will even add a few more to that. But, you know, just to get a message across to everybody can be part of that creative process. You know, I'm the CEO of the think tank, but I don't expect my social person or my marketing person or anybody else for that matter to tell these stories because they're not here with me. I'm the one who's experiencing those unique moments. And, you know, if you're a hotel, that could be your front desk. It could even be your housekeeping team that go into the rooms and they find all sorts of things, you know. Maybe that can make great content. So think about who can be telling the stories and how can they do that. And just continuously build that into your process. Just remember that, you know, your stories lie everywhere. And there's some amazing consumer level, not professional level, consumer level gadgets that we're using. And they will help you to do that. And these are designed for consumers to just go out and have fun with, like the Snapchat glasses. Just a small idea. I mean, if you had the Snapchat glasses and you gave them to your guests at a theme park or a hotel or wherever you are, and you gave them one guest per day to take it over, just think about how much great content you would have. And think about how happy your guests would be that they got to try the Snapchat glasses and take them out all day. So that's getting others to do your marketing for you. Okay, so as you can hear, my voice is going, so it's a really good moment to stop. I'm going to hand over now and invite our two guests to the stage. So gentlemen, please come to the stage. We're now moving on to the next section of the program. We're going to talk about getting smart with ad spend. I'm going to give you the clicker, Avi. We're going to give them each 15 minutes to give their own perspectives. And we're going to start with Avi, who's going to talk about all the off-the-shelf advertising that you should be working with, especially if you're a small business. And I should say, you know, for us as a B2B-focused business, even we're doing a lot of this stuff ourselves. So it's all really achievable, and you can have great results. And Avi is literally the man. He is the guru when it comes to everything in this field. So the floor is yours. Do you want?
Oh yeah, that should be good.
Just don't mind me for the next 2 or 3 minutes while I take a picture.
Of course. Can you hear me now? Yeah, excellent. And we get started. Okay, so that's me. Just a short backstory as to why you should listen to me and why I'm on the stage here now. So I'm 40. That's my birthday. I turned 40 last year. When I was 18, all I wanted to do was race streetcars. That's all I wanted to do. And I was very good at that. My dad didn't want me to do that, of course. So I remember one day he calling me to his room and he's saying, son, I've got two options for you. A, join the family business from tomorrow. B, get out of the house. Now the culture that we come from, we never leave the house. So I think better sense prevailed. And next morning I found myself behind my dad's small hotel reception. It was a 40-room hotel, nothing much to write home about. But we had Indian guests. And this is back ages ago. So at that time, there was a very peculiar rule, which meant that you could charge a different tariff for foreign guests and a different tariff for Indian guests. So that got me thinking. My dad had already embarrassed me by telling everyone that I was thrown away, almost thrown out of the house. So I had to redeem myself. So the only thing that I thought possible was to raise the revenues, to find my own place in the sun. So here's what I did. I thought to myself, if I can increase the revenue of all these 40 rooms by actually having all foreign guests coming in instead of Indian guests, my revenues will go up. I'll find my place in the sun and I'll redeem myself. So like I said, this was back then. So I discovered two companies. I came across a paper magazine, and they were different companies who were giving promises. And the promises were, we help you connect with your guests. We help you find customers globally. And this is what I wanted to hear. So I met those companies. There were new companies coming on the scene. One of them was called Google. The other was called Expedia. I signed those papers with them. They started listing us on their sites. I remember us being one of the only standalone hotels in India to go live on their channels. So when you would type for hotels in India, in Delhi, ours was the only small hotel that came. Being a first mover advantage, things changed. So my dad took 40 years to build that one hotel. After I discovered the internet, And we became first movers. We built 4 more hotels. And then because those 4 hotels were full of foreigners coming from all over the world, we started a very successful travel company. And we thought both these businesses will last forever. That was my second learning. They didn't. We couldn't grow the business the way we thought because we got commoditized. Google, Expedia, all these companies came to India. We were not the only ones who had that advantage. So we pivoted very fast, and we said we've learned so much about marketing the hotels online. So let's open a digital marketing agency. It was not called digital back then. It was called internet marketing. So we started about more than 12 years ago. And now we work with about 600 brands doing internet marketing from them. And when people say that I am the consultant or we work with these 600 companies, it's mostly the reverse. I'm sure all expert consultants would agree to that. That is mostly the clients who are teaching us things every day, and we're just sort of reacting to new realities fast enough, and that's how we become consultants. So, and I own 8 dogs, and I love my 2 daughters. So that's a backstory about me before we get started. Okay, now coming back to the real topic, ad spends. So that's me on the Ask Kavi Arya page. More than YouTube, you can find me here if you need to speak to me about something. That's my daughter who's waiting for me to buy her these Snapchat glasses very soon. Yeah, I look pretty different, I know. That was the hotel that just took off, and the journey began, and this is what we are today. So, before I get into smart ad spends, when you look at somebody, when you look at people and you say, that guy has a very good physique, or he looks really good, he must be keeping himself healthy. You automatically assume he must be going to the gym. And that gym for that particular gentleman is his ritual. We look at people who are successful in different fields and we assume they already have a ritual. And the same is true for social media. The same is true for digital marketing. The same is true for the way you spend money on ads. So people who have been spending money successfully on ads, so smart ad spenders, they have a ritual. So what we did was that, we interviewed more than 75 of them, and we do this every year. And we created a ritual. It's available on my Facebook page. You can go there and get it. On what these successful people are doing every single day on social media to be able to connect with the right people. And like I said, we review this every year by interviewing about 75 people. And this is what we believe. The first thing is everybody has a ritual, and all successful people, all digital marketers, all famous CMOs are more than willing to share this. And so the best thing is to utilize it and make it your own. The other thing is the mindset. It's easier said than done, but all of us in this room, I think there are a couple of thousand people outside, and maybe only 70 people in here. That is what I'm saying. There's a difference. There's a wall over here, and there are a few thousand people outside, and there's 70 people here. The difference between those people and here are people who some people may not have realized or are taking time to realize that there are no walls anymore, that there are no gatekeepers anymore. All of us are digital marketers, and these gadgets that we carry with us, these are TV stations. I have built my own personal brand. My younger sister calls me a narcissist because everywhere I have to have my name. But I've built my personal brand only on Facebook Live. So there are new trends coming on. You catch on to any trend. Doesn't matter if you have only a couple of hundred viewers to start with, your brand starts kicking off. It's just a mindset that changes, that tells you that all of us, like the lady was saying a couple of minutes back, that all of us can market to a subset. You don't need to have 500,000 viewers. You can market to a subset of clients and run your own businesses and run your own marketing. So it's a mindset which says, we do not need these gatekeepers anymore. We don't need to go to TV channels anymore. In fact, if your content, the content that you create is right and relevant and reaching the right people on an everyday basis, consistency plays a big role, then people come to you. People come to you with alliances. But again, mindset, to think big. The fact that today I can do a Facebook Live, record it right here. There are 70 people here, but I also know that on the Facebook page of ATM, there are more than 3,000 people who've registered. After I do this Facebook Live, which might be only seen by 400 people right now, and then about maybe another 1,000 people by the end of the day. What? I know. Now we're recording there. We're recording over there. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Please go ahead. So maybe 1,000 views at the end of the day, but at the end of the show, when everybody goes back home, I can run a targeted ad just targeting people who attended ATM. That's okay, we got a recording happening there. Thank you very much. So by the end of, I can run an ad campaign with this Facebook Live to people who were attending this show, people who logged on and liked the Facebook page of ATM, and they will see this Facebook Live. So I can target like a sniper today. There are, I like this slide because it says shoppers without borders, and it shows, I can, again on my Facebook page, you have access to these slides. It says shoppers without borders, which again says whatever product or service you're running, and I'm assuming most of us here are from travel and hotel backgrounds, whatever product, and I'm sure when you're running for a travel or a hotel hospitality company, you're open to getting clients from anywhere in the world. This new slide by Facebook shows how open people are to buying from people overseas. The thing is, first thing is to get smart with your ads, to understand your customer avatar. How much time do I have, Nick? Do you know? Or let me know if I'm running out of time. Okay. So first thing is to make your customer avatar. It's not difficult. I would say start with 3, eventually go up to 30. The more customer avatars you have, the more you're understanding your business and kind of people. So you have influencers and you have direct decision makers. So in terms of a resort, the influencer maybe is the child or the wife who's making a decision. And the direct decision maker is the guy who finally swipes his credit card. How old is he? When is he on Facebook? What else does he like apart from taking a vacation just once a year? What kind of shoes do they wear? And what other destinations do they like? If you make 3 customer avatars, 3 types of customers who are going to come and stay in your hotel or come and buy a travel package from you, then it becomes easier to understand what kind of ad to give to everyone. A blanket conversation cannot be had with each subset. You need to customize. I saw one of the questions there was about personalization. It was a great question because you need to personalize the conversation to everyone. You can promote it through both organic. I want to be one. I want to be one of those to tell you that, or I don't believe in organic because all of us in this room are impatient, and I take impatience as a virtue. If we are entrepreneurs and people in entrepreneurial setup, impatience should be a virtue. Which means if my rooms are running low, if my inventory is running, if I'm not able to sell out my hotel, if I'm not able to reach my targets, I am impatient. I want things to work in the next 3 days to 3 weeks, and therefore I will do something organic. But I will not, like Nick said, I will nudge that story. I will nudge that Facebook ad so that, and I call them babies. You nudge your babies to start walking and they start running. If getting great content normally finds a great audience. You have different types of targetings possible. And I know all of you must be aware of age, gender, where people live, demographic area. You can also target, if ATM was to be, if you wanted to target people in and around ATM, people living in and around ATM, maybe if I was a new taxi service and I wanted to launch myself here, I would target people on that ATM Facebook page and people living close by who might be coming here and introducing them to the new product that I have. You can also go by what kind of connections they have, so Facebook data shows that before birthdays, anniversaries, and special events, not only mine but also people in my family, I'm more inclined to make purchases. And so this data is readily available. I love this. If any of you have not tried this, please try this. If you're impatient, if you want results fast, and if you do not have the patience to do a funnel, because funnel creation takes time, go for lead generation ads on Facebook. You develop a landing page, it automatically pulls data, the name and the email address from Facebook. So nobody has to fill it. Because every time you're asking somebody to fill the name and email ID, he's gone, right? So these are thumb stoppers. We don't want them. But in this case, you press a button and it's already collected. So one click and you've collected the email ID. So what is this for? Ladies and gentlemen, what I'd like to say is the generation we live in, data is the new oil, data is the new gold, data is the new currency. If all of us have 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 email addresses which are double opt-in with us, that is the strength we have. Tomorrow you want to buy or sell a company, this data is going to be valued 10 to 15% of the total valuation of the company. So everybody in this room, freelancer, marketer, CEO, owner, whatever, must see that we have some data to play with, our own data that we call our own. And it doesn't matter the number. It could be 5,000 people, but dedicated, and they've given it to you. Facebook today, it's a land grab opportunity. Because the rate at which you're able to collect data today, free email IDs from relevant people, is absolutely crazy. This is going to increase, and I feel it's absolutely underpriced. You can do lookalike audiences. So for example, I say, fine, I liked what ATM had to show, or I liked what a particular hotel had to show, or I liked what a particular digital marketer had to say. But I want to hear from more people. So you can have lookalike audiences, which means people who follow the Ask Kavi Arya page. Are there other digital marketers who are giving digital expertise online? You say lookalike audience and you'll find people there. So you can actually go to the subset. So again, I'll go back to the example of the hotel. You could be a hotel or a travel company, and you have a kind of an audience, say 25 to 35, or say 20 to 30, whatever age group, and you say, I'm targeting only honeymooners. And you target them, you go to different Facebook pages which are about honeymooners, and then you run out of options. You say, then what next? You go to lookalike audiences, which means those audiences which are of the same demographics that you've chosen, but are not on these pages. Easy to do, and instantly you double or quadruple the database that you're targeting with your ads. Facebook remarketing, I'm sure all of you know about remarketing, but what I'd like to add here is 90% of the remarketing that we see, and it's same for any gym. You go to the gym, you find 10% people are looking very good, everybody else is out of shape because a lot of people don't follow the exact protocol. Remarketing is the same. Remarketing works like magic. I'm here in this, I've got 15 minutes, I'm running fast through this because I'm here to tell you things that work. Like I said, I'm impatient, it shows in my voice and shows in everything that I do. And I'm here to tell you things that can work in the next 3 to 5 days once you implement it. Remarketing is one of those. So I'll explain how remarketing works. It's absolutely like I have a conversation with you at the end of this session, and you introduce your business to me, and I meet you after 2 days, and we have the exact same conversation as if we've never met. 50 first dates, if you've seen the movie, the guy forgets everything after every few hours. That is what people do when they target people with the same ad again and again. Remarketing means, for example, if I'm a hotel, you've come to my rooms page, and you've seen the rooms and you've exited. Next time I'm showing you a remarketing ad is about more room types that I have in different pictures of my room. I'm not going to take you to my home page again. So in a sense, I'm continuing my conversation from where we left off. We run out of time? Okay. So engage, visual. Now I'm coming to the easy part. Don't stress on making content difficult during our everyday lives. Just create as much content as you can. Always have your phone on with you. At the end of the day, you need 2 pictures and 1 short video. So don't focus on getting the right shot or getting the right video. Create as much content. One of my, one of the people I follow, Gary Vaynerchuk, he says, document rather than create, which means document your entire day as much as you can, and you'll find great snippets from out of that. Once instead of wanting to create content, that takes too much time, and sometimes we feel we don't have the expertise. Different looks, so you can tell a story. This works well. Why I'm showing you this again is because everything new on Instagram, everything new on Facebook, everything new on Twitter, every new channel is like a new baby for these companies. They want to push the new baby. So you will get more organic traffic, you'll get more organic engagement on everything new. So if there's something new, if there's a new trend, jump on it, because most people are not. And also the company, the platform is helping you push it further. Since I've run out of time, you can, again, like I said, I'd invite you to come to my Facebook page and download whatever you want out of that. And this, like I said, we've got 8 dogs. I think 1 is missing here, and I like to include them as a part of every slide every presentation I do. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Let's give a big round of applause to Avi. Avi, I have to say, really good insights there. Very, very, very practical. And I have a pug just like this, so it's another reason of Yeah, it's good. So next year we want you to bring like one of the 6. Or great. Okay. Thanks a lot. Take your seat on the stage. So you know how to contact Avi. He's going to be answering all of your questions later on. We're going to go into the interview, and we will also take some of these challenges that you've asked us here, and we will discuss them. And my team in London, for those of you who have only just joined us, are busy ideating ideas and solutions around everything here. So we will come back to you. They're working on it right now with all of that. So thanks a lot, Avi. Next, big warm welcome to Josh. Josh is taking a big data perspective when it comes to targeting. So Josh, the floor is yours. Thank you very much for joining.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So my name is Josh. I work for a company called Sojourn, based here in Dubai, working with many of you in the room, potentially across big global and local regional travel brands on their online advertising. So big data is a word or a phrase which is regularly used at conferences. It's something that's kind of on the arc of interest recently, and it's something that's kind of mystified and unsure, but it's kind of the bedrock of our business, I suppose. And I'm going to try and take you through in 15 minutes the unenviable task of talking about data and insights and graphs and stats and so on. So what is big data? Why does it matter to travel? Travel is a business that produces more online data than perhaps any other industry. The volume of search, booking confirmation, product information that the travel industry produces compared to, say, FMCG or auto is quite phenomenal. So it really is the perfect industry to be using and leveraging big data to drive better business performance. And the one thing I would say about big data is that, you know, size doesn't necessarily matter. It's really what you do with it and how you use it to grow your business, top and bottom line. So this is my my home city. This is London, one of the top 5, if not the #1 source market for the UAE in terms of international inbound travel. Now, every year, London, just for Dubai, generates 1 terabyte of search travel data. So you, as a hotel or a car rental company, as an airline, as a destination, you know, with a team, marketing team of 2, 3, 10, 15 people, how do you make sense of 1 terabyte's worth of data for just one international city? That's excluding Singapore, New York, Bangalore, the GCC, Riyadh. So big data really is a problem because in here lies your customer. One terabyte of data is where you find your next purchase, is where you grow your lifetime value. But how do you actually make this actionable for your business? That terabyte is the same as 337,000 copies of War and Peace. I haven't read it. It's a massive book, but that kind of serves the point, right? How do you digest that much information and actually make sense of it for your business? So big data are actionable insights. I mean, what do you see? When you look at this, some people see the duck, some people see the rabbit. How do you make sense of big data? Duck? So this is kind of case in point. Most targeting, and we touched on kind of some of the Facebook and some of the Google, some of the off-the-shelf third-party targeting options. You know, people will build out big segmentation models about their target audience across various demographics, psychographics, behaviors, and so on. And when you look at a couple of people, they might look the same. Same gender, same income, same profession, same age, same lifestyle, same interests. And you as marketeers may communicate your brand message to these 2 people in much the same way, assuming through lookalike modeling, through remarketing, through prospecting data, that these 2 people are great for your brand and you will spend money to communicate to them. And there's a lot of words on here like ROI and attribution. How do I know if it's worked? And this is kind of where you need to preempt that problem by making sure that your ROI is attached to the effectiveness. So how do you make sure that if you're speaking to these 2 people, that you're actually speaking to the right person? So while consumers may look alike in demographics, and demographics is readily available, if you've ever been pitched to by media, and myself selling media for 15 years, I used to turn up with effective measure or Ipsos reports and say, I've got this many readers, they're this old, they do these jobs, would you like to buy media space? And people would say yes, based on the fact that they thought those people were the people they should be speaking to. But when you use data and you drill into it, you see that their search and purchase behaviors are actually completely different. And there's a huge amount of wastage in your media budget by making assumptions that person A is the same as person B. So when you look at the same 2 people, person A may fly 3 times a year, London and Beirut, fly an economy, they like boutique city hotels. they book quite short and they stay for just a weekend. So here is a group of companies that need to speak to this person, be it Emirates or MEA, be it a small local hotel, and your booking window is 7 days. The second person travels 6 times a year in business to New York and Paris. 5-star, they like branded hotels, they're loyalty members. So kind of the point is that while you may use your media budget to speak to person A and person B in exactly the same way, you find out that person A may be completely the wrong person for your business. And that's where we use data to make sure that we target your ads better. So this is a real person. This is somebody who lives in our DMP, our data management platform. We have around 500 million traveler profiles live every month. This is one person we looked at within a span of April to October, so around 6 months. And through our data set alone, we saw 111 hotel searches, 30 flight searches, and 13 car searches. So 451 online travel touchpoints in 6 months, leading to 4 conversions. So the big question is, how do you as a brand, one of many in any sector of travel, make sure that you take that 451 touch points and distill it down to making sure your brand is one of those conversions? And by no means is that a simple thing to do. So what we try and do at Sojourn, and what we do with data and why data is important, is we try and go beyond those basic demographics. We try and go beyond the fact that somebody who likes this kind of sport goes to this kind of hotel. Somebody who's this kind of income goes in this kind of flight. And we try and look at actual individual traits and behaviors and online search and booking activations to make sure that we really drive our clients' online performance. So data is never fun to present, and I know it's day 3 of ATM in the afternoon, so I will try and keep it quite short. But this is a piece of research we've done for ATM this week, looking at our online travel search and behavior and combining it with Google. So looking specifically at the Middle East to Middle East and global to Middle East travel behaviors. It's just a few slides. This is a very long report. If you want to get a copy, please email me and I'll send it across. Emerging regional destinations. You only have to look around at the money being spent in the other hall to understand where the big money is in terms of destinations. But what we're actually seeing is places like Al Ain, Ras Al Khaimah, Sharjah coming through. My pronunciation of number 5 will not be good, so I won't try. But we're seeing Egypt coming back into play after a few tough years. So this is real live insight that people can be using today. Emerging international destinations, people going out. Mangalore is one where a new route has been opened up by Qatar Airways. So these are kind of live insights, new audiences that you can start speaking to. Travel searches. So this is 2 years worth of travel search mapped in terms of volume. Obviously Ramadan is peaking, but you also see various other troughs. So when you're looking at optimizing what you spend, where, why, and how, you know, it's probably important to know when you really need to be in the market. Do you need to advertise in Ramadan? Of course you do. It's a busy time. But you also need to understand where the slumps are, where the opportunities lie, which countries are up and down, and we can map this out for global origination cities and look at all of your source markets and really give you a clear picture of where and when search behavior and booking behavior peaks and troughs, so that you can really maximize the efficiency of what you're doing on the internet. Mobile. The year of mobile was like 13, 14, 15, 16. I think it's been and gone. I'm sure everyone has an opinion of when it was. But in terms of travel, it's still somewhat nascent. It's huge for discovery. It's huge for searches. Not so big for booking. But what's interesting about our region, widely stated 2.1 smartphones per person, we over-index in the Middle East on mobile booking. You know, are you responsive mobile? Are you advertising in-app on mobile web? Do you have an appropriate data strategy, bearing in mind that desktop doesn't talk to app? You know, this is good data to know that if you really want to be driving online efficiency, if you want attribution, ROI, understanding of the marketing that you're spending, you need to make sure that your mobile site is also driving bookings, because people are looking to book with you through mobile. And if they can't, they will go to an OTA or a Meta and they will do it there. Travel searches. So the green line is search, the yellow line is booking. What time of day are you running advertising? Are you day part targeting? Are you just burning through your online impressions in the morning because you're set on an ASAP? Or are you actually looking at the times when people are researching their travel, when people are actually buying their travel? When are those credit card numbers going into booking engines, and are they going into yours? Skip back. This is day per week. So you see, obviously, midweek, people are in the office, tired, bored, cold, perhaps if they're in Europe. They're online dreaming of where to go, and they book midweek. But mobile at the weekends is the #1 source. So are you shifting your strategy throughout the week, throughout the time of day, throughout the channel, throughout your source market, throughout the months? This is where data allows you to stop missing opportunities by not knowing the differences, the iterations per opportunity, and really honing in your money to make sure that you're driving at the right person, the right time, on the right platform, with the right creative message. So going back to that 337,000 copies of War and Peace, roughly the same in Harry Potter, if you're more of a sort of fan of that. You distill it down to this kind of dashboard, and this is the kind of thing that you can actually take back to the office and make decisions against today. You know, the #1 emerging market for Dubai in terms of increase in search demand is South Korea. How many hotels or how many travel businesses here are communicating efficiently in that market? Or are you all fishing the same EU5 pool? You know, these are the kind of insights that big data can help drive. And again, feel free to email me if you want copies of these reports. And this is kind of it, right? This is data. This is source code. This is where it all lives. You know, if you right-click on any web page and select source code, you can see all of this. Interestingly, some web companies post jobs in here so that coders can only find them. But this is kind of where data is. This is what we're talking about. So I've put together 3, what I hope are actionable insights, things that you can take away and think about. #1, make it actionable. Big data. It's a great buzzword. It sounds cool in conferences. But when you go back to work on Sunday or Monday, if you're in another region, what are you actually going to do? How do you make it actionable? So don't worry about how many millions of people there are on a platform, how many billions of intent signals somebody has. Look for the individuals that are actually going to make a bottom line difference to your business by looking at very specific, actionable insights. #2, question the knowns. Everybody who comes to us wants to speak to UK, Germany, Saudi, Singapore, you know, key source markets, but opportunities lie in the areas, right? Places where people aren't. 22% increase in travel search for South Korea, 18% increase for Japan. Who's advertising in those markets, bringing in big dollars to the UAE today? #3, iterate. Data is dynamic. It constantly shifts. There is no stability in data. People by nature are completely unreliable, and that means that data is as well. So you have to constantly test, adapt, analyze, learn, make sure that your business is in the right place at the right time, using critical insights. One of the biggest problems with a lot of the data that is available through Facebook and through Google and through other third-party sources is it can be up to 30 days old. So if I do a travel search today to go to London, you buy that data from Google in 30 days, chances are I've been and gone. What you need is live, real-time insights that you can actually act upon and learn from, rather than just kind of, again, waste money on things that can't actually impact your business. I hope that's been insightful. It's hard to cram a lot of charts into 15 minutes, but this is my email address. If you have any interest in the data that we have, please drop me a line and I'll happily share it with you. Thanks a lot.
Great. Thank you very much. Give a big round of applause there. So we're going to move on to the third part in just a moment, but I think, you know, what's clear for me is to not make assumptions. We make a lot of assumptions. It's very easy to make assumptions, but this is perhaps a big mistake then. So perhaps hand first to you, Avi, just to, you know, give your perspective on where businesses are continuously making the wrong assumptions with everything they're doing in marketing. Is the mic working? Yeah. No, it's not working.
Okay, perfect. Like I said, I get back to the question on mindset, and which means mindsets are not changing. So that's where people are not able to make different assumptions. So that's why sometimes you feel a lot, you know, I'm 40, so I'm not saying I'm young, but I'm saying you find a lot of young people who are, you know, who are making decisions because they are, you know, they don't know data like, you know, some of us do. So they are looking at data every single day. So every day is a new day. Every hour is a new day. For some clients, you know, they say 4 times a day. It becomes mandatory for us to look at data 4 times a day. So I completely agree with this. But coming back to your question, where people are stuck is, I feel there should be a metric on how many times all us marketers are looking at Google Analytics, and that should go to the boss or whoever's, because if you look at it a few times a day, you make smarter decisions a few times a day. So we're still stuck there. We're not looking at data enough.
And from your point of view, with the clients you're working with, do they often start working with you from maybe a point of assumption, and you show them maybe something that's quite different to what they expect?
Is this working? Yeah, of course. I mean, we all carry with us, we were talking about this earlier with my colleagues about a training we did called unconscious bias. We all carry with us baggage that comes from our ethnicity, our gender, our education, our experiences. And the same is true of our marketing planning, right? We make marketing decisions, perhaps unconsciously, based on what we think will work. What you really need to do is look into the data that is available in the market and really see what people are doing, because, your assumption as a person of one, when you're trying to fill a plane of 300 or a hotel of 1,500, you're not going to speak to a big enough representative sample. So you have to test the data, you have to test the market, and you have to try, as hard as it may be, to leave your assumptions outside of the planning room.
Okay, great. So do we have some questions? Oh, this is a nice microphone. Do we have some questions from the audience? Any questions for our two guests here? Question in the back? No? Okay, so thank you very much, gentlemen. That was great. Let's give a big round of applause once again. And I'm going to say thank you to Josh. Avi is going to stay on stage with me. Great having you here. So now, should we do this seated? Or should we start by having a look at some of the challenges they've shared? Okay, so the one that stood out to me here was personalization. So personalization is something I guess is definitely not new. But I think maybe what people's ideas of personalization was a few years back has actually ended up being something quite different today, where we actually see maybe personalization is not about building a ridiculously customized website based on who your customer is, but it has a totally different meaning. Talk to me a bit about that.
So personalization, according to me, is if you gave the example of the website, you don't have to revamp your website. I feel that if you know your customer avatars, 5 kind of audiences that are coming to have 5 different landing pages. For example, if a hotel in Dubai has people coming from Russia, you do a testimonial from people from Russia saying they were very happy staying in your hotel, and people in Russia only see that ad. They don't see the whole website. They see the landing page for people saying this is a great hotel from Russia. That is personalization. Personalization in terms of getting new business. We're all marketers here. We want to get new business. I personally do that. 3 years back, people used to call it invasion of privacy, but I think now it's becoming a new norm. So I'll make a video, and we do that all the time, and I'm sure some of you are doing it. I'll make a video. If I wanted to deal with any of your companies, I'll make a video for your company specifically and run an ad against your company. That's personalization. That's only people in your company will see me pitching my idea to you. That's personalization.
Now, I think it would probably give a bit of context, because you rushed through it at the beginning. Just talk about your background. So I actually took one image I could find of Avi on the internet. It's surprising, because you got a lot of videos, but not much images. So you don't even know what I have coming up here.
No.
But let's skip to it. Okay, so ask Avi. The hashtag, and if you check Avi out, you'll see that he's the most entertaining guy. Put him on video, and he literally has the most sound advice about how to work and how to segment and how to organize what you're doing. And I've actually learned quite a lot through watching your stuff, which is not saying I know everything, but quite often I see things that I'm not learning, sort of very specific things.
Thank you.
So I've got this, I've got this image of you. I don't know how old this is, if it's relatively new, but tell us a bit about how you got into what you're doing today, because your background is really a good knowledge on the hotel side, and I think a lot of the time we meet tech people, digital companies, and they're coming from the other side, from the agency side, which is also okay, but maybe they don't always have that kind of knowledge of the operational side of the. It's going to work with what they tell you, or do you just say, just give me the keys and I'm gonna drive the car?
You know what? I wish I could say that. I thought there would be a time after doing something long enough, you become a consultant and you're seen as somebody who's got enough testimonials and work behind you. And
you're not shy, no?
No, you know me. So I'm like, but you have to earn your trust with every new relationship. And that's what I've seen. So you go in with whatever mindsets that they have. You make sure that your client doesn't feel threatened by you being there, and show them what you're talking about, and that's when they start believing you. So it takes time.
Great. Okay, let's take a seat. I put together a series of topics that we put together. We thought these are some of the biggest things that people are asking us about.
Nice.
So I think the first, as part of our Ask Avi session now, is how do you build amazing product? How do you actually build a great experience that does something for your brand and your business online?
The best thing is sometimes the most difficult, and which means that I would first listen to what people have to say about the brand that I'm building, or at whatever stage it's at. Which means that if I'm working with a hotel or a resort or a travel, whoever I'm working with, or whoever any marketer is working with, every time you get a new job, sit down, not with the boss so much, not with the CMO so much, but with the customers. Call them for lunch. 4 or 5 focus groups. I don't like to say focus group, because focus group means that what we used to do in the 90s. But new age networking, understanding your clients, sitting down with them, having lunch, dinner with them, and asking them what they would want, however ridiculous that sounds, is what is going to build the product if you build a customer journey around it.
Are there any really standout examples?
Yes.
Whether, from your experience or your clients?
Very recently, a friend of mine called Joel, and he was discussing this with me. A real estate company, they had some 110 odd apartments that they were selling to downsizers, and great apartments, and they sold the ad copies and everything went out on live, and they're now telling them that they sold about only 2% of those apartments. They got this consultant on board, and it wasn't me, it was somebody else. They got somebody on board, and this guy actually went and spoke to the downsizers. And those people who were above the age of 70, 75, 80 said that we have so many memories in our homes. We don't want to get rid of these memories. We have a dining table where we have so many memories. Our kids have left, we're alone, but we don't want to get rid of those memories. So they changed the entire ad copy positioning. They said, this apartment building, whatever it was called, extra room for your dining table. You don't have to throw away your memories. And extra closet space for all your memories that you collected throughout. They sold 65% eventually. So and I learned this only very recently. So which just means that your customers have a voice. It can sound ridiculous to say, you know what, this is not meant for you, forget it. I'm not adding a dining room space now. But then this builder went ahead and listened to the customer.
So when you're working with your customers and you're working mostly at the marketing, very targeted actions, how does reputation come into that when obviously the experience is impacting opinion so much?
Right.
How can you work with your clients to kind of orientate yourself through that space?
You mean helping them fix their reputation?
Exactly.
You know what, like I said, my first thing comes from impatience, and I understand that things, there are long-term strategies, but then you will lose it. All of us are entrepreneurs, and I feel we lose clients in the long story. So there has to be a short-term impact. And it's very simple. What I see going into absolutely every brand is that human beings, when they look at a white wall and there's a black dot, will write a thesis about the black dot. We'll forget about the white in the room. Which means that every time that you have reviews from guests, there are 90% guests who've not reviewed at all. And normally, in my experience, I've seen guests review on 2 sides of the emotional spectrum. Either I'm very excited you gave my 80-year-old grandmother a cake, or I'm very upset because you burned my shirt in the morning. But the 90% people in between, nobody's even bothered to ask. A regular hotel, 100 rooms, 70% occupancy, means there are about 2,100 people checking out every month. There are 6,300 people checking out every quarter. If I can activate 1 extra review, 2 extra reviews a day, I've got 180 extra legally, ethically collected reviews in 3 months. So we focus on that, and that sets you apart from your competition.
So in reality, the reviews are such a small percentage of the number of visitors. If you really focus on engaging the right customers to have amazing experiences, which drives those reviews.
Find the happy guest.
Come out to, talking of happiness, I had an amazing Uber ride, but that's for another time. He told me he was the happiest man on the planet.
And you got that
morning.
on your camera.
Yeah. So I want to move on then and talk about how you then translate a great product experience to a great story. Because we've talked a lot about content and the stories that lie within your brand. How do you do that successfully?
So I personally believe that the one thing that drives everybody's brain and lights it up, that one word. Marketers like to say it's free. Somebody says it's the three-letter word called sex. No, I feel it's once upon a time. It's once upon a time where everybody gets up and says, what's going to come next? Because we all grew up looking at once upon a time. So everybody has a story. But sometimes people don't know how to relate it. So my typical example is, I'd gone to Goa to meet a hotel, back-to-back hotel meetings. So I met this hotelier in the morning who said, building a world-class hotel, everything is artificially controlled, intelligently controlled. The butler knows what you want beforehand, and the elevator stops. You got your key card, so the elevator stops at the right floor. This is the story he gave me. The next meeting was this husband-wife who told me that they moved from Australia to India. They lost their hearts to India, and they came to this church called the St. Martin's Church, and they took refuge there. And then they built a small coffee shop, and over the years they bought that land, and then they built it. And because the blessings were from the church, they called it the St. Martin's Hotel. And because they're from Australia, most of the tourists are from. Which is a better story? I mean, I want that personalization of that elevator, but which is a better story? So everybody has a story, and it has to be as genuine as that.
Do you see? Because you're working in Canada, and so you guys are really big in Canada and India. So two very different markets.
Right.
I think it's fair to say, right?
Oh, yes.
Do you see a difference, especially when it comes to content and storytelling, and how businesses are looking at that, but also their kind of ability to translate the product that they have into something that resonates really well online?
You know what? My answer would be scratch the surface a little bit. Apart from our inherent cultures, all human beings are the same. We are all emotional at different levels. And that's what advertising and connecting and making relationships with new customers is. It's all about emotions. So I feel that it just depends on, Indians are hugely emotional. So, if you have a good ad copy, they will respond to that. But everybody is emotional to a different level. And on that note, I feel everybody is a human being. As you find the human side of them, it's easy to work.
Great.
But having said that, there's a difference in getting the human side of the CEO out for him to say, yes, this is how I want you to storify my brand, versus a CMO. Those are two different ball games.
Excellent. Just before we move to the next question, I should say I'm monitoring what our team in London is doing, in case you thought we had forgotten. And they are busy ideating all of your sticky notes into solutions. So I will leave them a bit more time before we put that up live. But it is coming along, so we haven't forgotten. But we do need to give them enough time to do something on that. So the next thing is talking about targeting, which you've spoken quite a lot at. But how do you think businesses can really, really, really get smart with targeting? Maybe some just amazing tips and tricks that, in your opinion, are just sitting there, money on the table, and people aren't taking it.
So, so let me give you an example of a restaurant, and then I'll say a hotel, and then maybe a travel company. So for a restaurant, the easiest thing to do is understand that maybe in this part of the world, lunch time is 1. So 12 o'clock, hunger pangs. Your ad should be bang on 12 o'clock, show a nice juicy image of that burger or that steak or that sandwich that you're doing, and show it to people all around. If I was an entrepreneur selling burgers, or if I had a new burger chain or steaks or whatever I was selling, and I knew that a place like Dubai, and I'm in Dubai, and I have tens of thousands of people coming for an exhibition every week, I would target the Facebook page of these people at 2 o'clock and say that I have a burger stand right outside. So that is one personalization which happens. Maybe McDonald's is doing it. I don't understand why everybody else is not doing it. Now let me tell you about a hotel. Hotels have a lot of last-minute, loosely floating around travelers who are not making their decision. They're staying 3 to 4 days in a hotel, but they might have 1 or 2 nights in the same city where they're not booked. And those people, and there are data to show that they're booking after 5 or after 7 in the evening because they're getting panicking about the next day. So your ad should be targeted only between 7 and 12 or 11 and 12 at night, whatever, wherever, however, whatever data drives you to say, looking for a last minute room, we've got special deals that expire in 60 minutes and have a counter running there.
So really working in real time,
Exactly.
targeting
Absolutely.
people's interests to make a last minute decision.
Right. The thing is that as agencies or as marketers or as owner, we are not nimble enough to be able to make a decision saying, oh, this is a good idea, let me run an ad today. Because by the time we get to perfection, that opportunity is lost.
So how does that, maybe give me an example of how a restaurant could use this, could really...
Perfect. See, restaurants have, the biggest challenge is that most restaurants do well on a Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and sometimes Sunday afternoon for lunch. But what about them Tuesdays and Wednesdays? They want to fire half their staff and then they love them back again on Friday, and this happens every week. So a restaurant can very easily, I feel restaurants should do 7-day targeted campaigns, because restaurants have a captive local audience, people in and around. So Facebook and all these, specifically Facebook, you can target half a kilometer, 1 kilometer. You can target, you're a new restaurant, you can target an IBM office which is open. A new IBM office, or that you have a large company with 500 people working there. You can target a special deal saying that all you can eat buffet for $10 or whatever your deal is for IBM customers only. Expires in 2 hours, and you can run that ad to everybody who works at IBM only near. So there are lots of things that can be done.
Yeah. So even B2B can also be just as targeted.
B2B can also be targeted, because see, eventually a lot of people say B2B is only LinkedIn. I have tried and I continue to spend more time on Facebook because that's where everybody else is. So maybe during the day when everybody's busy, they're not so much on Facebook. But it still means a couple of,
One thing that we do quite a lot of is bringing people to our site with really good content and then retargeting them on their own social channels.
Sure.
So that's when you're targeting purely a business community without any loss of your investment.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But then following those people around effectively
Right.
across all the media that they're looking at.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a smart idea. And you can target them 110 days in the next 365, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what we've found is that, when we launch an event, and I think a lot of the guys here are probably working also on B2B, mice, trying to get, conference room bookings, things like that. If you can bring people to engage with your brand because you've got a great piece of content, maybe you do a lot of events as a business, and you do a great piece on how to run the perfect event, how to run a high-end, champagne reception and win, how to fly your guests in with a helicopter. I saw that just a few minutes ago before the session. If you create this sort of content and people, your business community is saying, that's interesting for me, I want to learn more about that. They read it, they share it. It's not the article itself which is going to convert them into a customer. It's the fact that then your brand stays with them.
Oh,
and at the point where they're saying, you know what, that's actually an interesting place, they keep seeing the brand continuously follow them around.
Oh yes, absolutely. And remarketing, I feel it should never stop. Once somebody has expressed intent to buy, those are the best people to spend money on.
Yeah.
Throughout the year.
Great. So I think we got another question here, which was, I think you already answered, but how do you win a reputation contest? I don't know if you got any more to say on this. Maybe from a competitive point of view. If you're in a very, very, let's say you're in a big city, and you can't win by being, say, an iconic, exceptional brand that people are just saying that's something I have to go to one day. But actually, you're mid-market, you have quite an average product. How can you win in that very, very kind of busy and
that's a very
space?
interesting question, because in every city, everywhere in the world, you see people lining up for one of these small stores which has a cult-like following. Or, I'm going for tacos in San Diego, driving 45 minutes out to this Mexican joint, which nobody knows about. It's just, it's got a cult following. So, TripAdvisor, Facebook, Google, all these platforms have you and give you an opportunity to upload your reputation. Happy guests upload their thing. The other thing and because I already spoke about it.
That's a really good point because most businesses are focused on TripAdvisor, and it's that they miss all the other channels, and maybe Booking.com and Expedia. But if they look at really where the customer decision process is coming in, it's Google Maps, it's search queries where the results are being lifted, and they're actually helping really lift the brand.
Sure. They say human beings are all us human beings, we're very strange people. We go to TripAdvisor to trust total strangers. And then we go back to Facebook to see what our friends are saying about brands. But we need to be in both places. And uploading, requesting your customers to upload pictures and videos while they're uploading their reviews will give you that edge in the ranks versus your competition.
Great. Okay. So I think that the last question that I have for you is on omni-channel. Oh, I think we've gone too far there. So omni-channel. So this is something that gives everyone a headache. I think there's been a sense that the customer journey was quite simple. That we did very standard set of processes and we bring them through that funnel. But now we're talking about totally fragmented, 400 to 600 touch points. Some of them are micro touch points. Some of that has to do with reputation. Some of that has to do with an influencer, a brand ambassador, PR, even TV. So how can you possibly successfully build a relationship through all of those different content types, channels, touch points, interactions, and really successfully retain that customer and build that relationship through the whole thing? Is it possible to keep them?
I don't think so. I think it's because all these channels are so fast evolving. I think, this is my personal opinion again, by the time we get artificial intelligence in, might be a different game. But right now, I would focus on my top 5 customers and my top 3 or 5 channels and my top 4 or 5 people who understand my brand from the brand side and the customer side. And I'm repeating this, I would focus on the top 5 channels, on the top 5 demographics, on the top few people in my brand side and the customer side, make an ecosystem and make this work. So even if I'm getting to, like they say, 20% of your customers drive 80% of your revenues, so let me focus on those. And it's the same, I feel it's the same for channels as well. Facebook is definitely going to be driving more business. Google is going to be driving more business. TripAdvisor is going to be driving more business. Well, if Twitter and LinkedIn, you've not tried it and you've not tried everything else, get them out of your journey for now. And so I would go micro because it just gets too much to digest. Again, my opinion.
So you would say optimize individual touch points,
right?
And build relationships where it's possible, but it would be unrealistic for your larger net of customers to build that relationship.
Because every time that I've seen such large activations, I myself have been honest enough to admit that we've left so much money on the table just by trying to wrap everything around. If you're just focused on 2 things that were working, well, if something is working, just milk it, right?
So there are specific zones within your digital strategy where you can either acquire, convert, convince.
Right.
And those are the points you should really, really focus on winning in.
Right. Like, for example, right now, if somebody says, like I said, I'm all about impatience. When somebody says, what can I do now? Right now, it's 3:30, and it'll start working tomorrow. Everybody should have a chat. Chats are coming back in a big way, and they can get automated now soon as well. So have a click, run a Facebook ad, spend only $200, get everybody to click to chat, and have a picture of a real person on a different page. If you're selling 5 products, have different people selling all 5 products. It's actually somebody walking into your store or your travel company or your cruise liner or your hotel and saying, I'm here to buy. And you're saying, you know what, there's a signboard, automatically buy it. You're not going to say that. There's going to be a person who's going to greet them and it's going to make it more personable for them. Unfortunately, websites and social media pages are becoming impersonal. So it's the easiest thing to do. Some chat options are even free. Run a $100 ad against a chat. You'll see 10 more people wanting to do business with you. And if you're not very good at your business, you'll still convert 10%. That's 1 more customer tomorrow morning.
Great. Good advice there. So, last question for you before we go to the team in London and see what Emma has been working on. Missed opportunities. What is the biggest missed opportunity for the travel industry?
Missed opportunity is training.
Training.
Training, yeah. Because it's a new discipline and it's changing every month. The Harvards and the Princetons and the Cambridges of the world, and I am privileged to go to some of them to speak. I realize that the courses that these institutions are making, even all over the world, these are large institutions. They're getting redundant. By the time the book on digital marketing is printed, it's already redundant. So you need to invest in training, and there are so many online training curriculums from Khan Academy to Simply Learn to all of them, and they charge you something like $20 or $30 a month for you to stay relevant to your boss, to your industry. So the biggest opportunity missed is that people are not investing in training.
Great. Okay. So that's really good. I'm going to give you this.
Okay.
Maybe what you can do, you can zoom in, and whilst you maybe have a look at what they've been ideating there, I'm going to bring this up onto the big screen. You see, we're very digital here, very interactive. This is like we live in the future, I think. Okay. So let's see if we can do this. So this all depends on a good internet connection. Okay. So it's loading up. There we go. So you can actually see my team navigating the board right now. This is actually we've never done this before, so I did say this would be quite a challenge. So what we've done is we have structured this board into the challenges, and it's loading. It does depend on the internet connection. So we've structured into strategy and tactical. And we've actually imported all your notes. So the internet is really bad here. But these are all individual notes, which hopefully will load in just a minute. And our team have developed their own thoughts and ideas around everything they see. Let me try and refresh that. So Avi, I don't know if anything stands out to you immediately on the board, because you definitely have a better view there.
One of them is convincing traditional setups to jump to innovation digitally. Yeah, if I've read that correctly, that's what it is.
There we go. Can we have this mic? Yeah, excellent. So here we go, convincing traditional setups to make that jump to innovation. Okay. So this was quite I think a really good point. I don't know if the person who left it, this always happens with ATM. You can't keep people for more than 45 minutes. But did anyone in the room write that? No? See, they wrote it and left. That's not good. Okay, so, right. So, and then we've got down here, accessing resources and talent and the cost of that, getting management support, and people are resistant to change. That's a really, really great point. So our team here have put some thoughts here. What they've basically considered is that those are some of the biggest strategic challenges out of everything that people shared. And so they decided to sort of think about what you can do here. So they've suggested involving key senior stakeholders from the beginning to make them champions of the process. I think that's, it's a really great suggestion. Make sure you have the statistics and case studies for why your project is important. Another really, really sound piece of advice. If you feel that something's important, don't just tell your boss, because if your boss isn't backing you, he or she probably won't back you without some firm evidence that others are doing this. Show what the competitors are doing. Collaborate with heads of internal teams to make sure everyone's on the same page. That's also great. Make sure all of your ducks are in order, we say in English. So make sure everything is completely aligned and you have all of your teams working on the same ideas. Setting clear KPIs for your projects, and I think it's worth saying then the fragmented and incremental components which sit in those. Setting regular review dates with key decision makers to make sure everyone's kept in the loop. Communicating project success and challenges to the entire team. Another really, really good point there. So those were some of the thoughts that people had on that Emma actually had on the strategy side of the board. We'll move to the top in just a minute. So let's see, what do we have here? How to create digital content that will generate high engagement. Before we go to the thoughts from Emma, I don't know if you have some thoughts on that, because you are quite into content creation. how to create digital content that will engage,
Like I said,
create high
I'm
engagement.
referring back to what Gary Vaynerchuk says: document rather than create. Document what's happening in your office. Document the way your journey of doing whatever you're doing at work, and throw it out there. You will be surprised at how many people love the process behind the action rather than delivering just a fine product.
I think that is you've hit the nail on the head. I'll be curious to see what Emma has written. But documenting the process, not the end result. If you're building the Burj Khalifa, well, it's finished now, but whatever else is being built, you probably have actually seen these time lapses where you see the thing come over 2 or 3 years. That's like a macro example of how you can document a process. But it's part of building excitement behind what's coming. Doing that insight, showing people how the kitchen works.
Human beings like to get hooked on to every new reality show that comes out. So make a reality TV version of your product, and people, and live stream it on Facebook, or put images on Facebook. People get hooked on to that.
We've got also new interfaces, natural voice, etc. So I think that's really a question. Just put your hand up if you asked any of these questions. We'd love to hear from you. But I guess that's really talking about how to be more human, and how to maybe take off the harshness that your brand can create, and to be a brand that really can connect with people on a real human level.
Unfortunately, the chatbots of today and the future are going to be more human than humans in terms of how they respond to customers.
So this is what Emma has put. Identify current content trends, what you can tap into. Engage with influencers who are already creating content in your desired field. Identify the conventions of your desired distribution channel. Look at creating a cohesive tone of voice across all channels. And look at what content is being produced in other sectors to innovate. I think looking outside of the travel industry is a very good one. Because otherwise we look too inward and we don't see what's happening elsewhere.
Brilliant point.
Great. Okay. And we've even got some ideas on the natural voice here. So, identifying the business need for utilizing a particular interface. That's a good one. We'll share this with you guys later, by the way. We'll share it with ATM as well. So identifying the business need is a really good one. I think, I'm crazy now with the Snapchat glasses. You haven't used them as much as I was hoping, Avi, but not to worry. I love the Snapchat glasses. But, if you're a business, you also need to justify why you would do Snapchat, or why you would focus on Instagram, or why you invest resources. And if you have very, very spread and limited resources, you can't afford to do every single channel. So make the case for the ones you think you should focus on. Don't be afraid to test, to take a chance, and to risk a little bit of, seeing what happens, and show the results of that. Say, well, yeah, discuss it with the team, and put, this is the sort of thing you could be doing. You could be, is it working? Press it? No, it's not on. Yeah, there we go. You could be doing it with the team. You could do it for 2 days, a week, and then you could put all of the content you created, get everyone together and say, what do you think this is doing for our brand? What do you think it could do? Of course, you won't get the engagement probably the first time you do something, but you can at least see what it can do for your brand. So I think that's a really good one. Also speaking to the users, so seeing how the users engage and adopt it as well. What I have seen with Snapchat is most people tell me, yeah, I'm on Snapchat, this is so cool. But I don't use it anymore. I just joined to see, and then I left. So if this is what everybody's saying, maybe Snapchat is not actually the right channel. Obviously match that with the research. Guys like Focusrite have such good data and insight on the adoption of all the different channels and things like that. So you have to kind of balance different pieces of information, but also take a bit of gut instinct, but also a bit of testing that goes with it. Have a look at what your competitors are doing. One of my favorite quotes from one of my own staff, which I completely disagreed when she first said it, but I've come around to it, is copy but copyright. Now, I used to think, when she first said that, I said, you can't possibly tell people to copy. That's completely like, I would never tell anyone to do what another brand is doing. And over time, it started to sink in what that really means. When you see your brands are doing something that's working, that's good, that's right, maybe they're onto something. don't just replicate it. Really take ownership of that idea and make your own take on it if it's something that's good. So it is actually not a bad idea. Yeah, looking automation, you've spoken a lot about that. And also seeing how it can integrate with your existing experience. So I think what I was saying earlier about giving the Snapchat glasses to your customers, that's a great way of giving them a marketing tool effectively, and helping them even have a better experience than they probably would have had had you not given it to them. So you're actually improving your customer's experience, and they're doing the marketing work for you. Okay, so now I'm moving to the top. I think this was the exact actions you should take, but I think they didn't have time to get to that. I think we can forgive them. It was quite a tough challenge. So yeah, this is like possible solutions, okay? So Emma has focused a lot on stand-ups. Does anyone do stand-ups within their team? Yeah, one or two of you? Very simple, very quick, focus, bam, 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 who's doing what and where are we? It's a really, really simple method to declutter these ridiculous meetings that you're probably quite familiar with, which go on for hours and nobody has anything to say and everyone's umming and ahhing. I don't know, if you guys ever get a chance to sit and meet with Google in their offices, you might notice they kick you out either in 15 minutes or 45 minutes, but never longer. And that's because they are ultra disciplined about how much time they are prepared to spend with clients. They have rules about the length of meetings. But stand-ups can be really short, 5 minutes, everybody gets 1 minute, and you're done. And it's just a great way of seeing where everyone is, having that communication within your team, but not sort of dragging down the whole team with boring meetings. So agile startups, stand-ups, a great way of catching the entire team in the morning. You can do this every single morning for 5 minutes. That's a great idea. What else do we have here? So sprints. Sprints are great. I mean, sprints really get you results. A sprint can be 5 days, it can be 2 weeks, can be probably maximum a month. But this is where you organize every single day what progress you're going to make. You work to the goal, the end goal that you want to achieve at the end of it, and you make damn sure you get there. And you know, there's various ways you can do that. Obviously, to illustrate it a bit more, we've shown all the offline stuff, but we do all this online because we work with people remotely. We do almost everything through tools like this. But organizing day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, and you'll be amazed how quickly you can get to your goal if you focus a team like that, rather than having that kind of unfocused approach and working in a different way. And also, sprints is not just about structuring it, but it's also about having an open communication. So you look at everyone who's going to be part of that sprint, probably a team of 5 people. You look at what they are each going to do in their different roles. One might be a marketing focus, one might be a product focus, another might be a kind of testing focus. And they are going to go through as a team, but also as individuals through that process of building a brand or building anything. So you could, for example, create a 5-day sprint to build a chatbot. Now, of course, you're not going to build, well, unless you have amazing developers, you're not going to build a chatbot really fully functioning in 5 days, but you can probably build a prototype. You can probably build, even if you have no technical knowledge whatsoever, you could build a concept for a chatbot, and part of that 5-day sprint could be to run it through some customers and see how they react to that, how they engage with that. And you know, then you're talking really tangible stuff. And if that seems to go well, you can then hand that to some developers and see what they can do with it. So great stuff here. Collaboration, just really key. Emma's written, collaborate with internal teams and encourage buy-in. I work a lot with Google on some of the transformation work they're doing. And so they bring me in to give advice to agencies, which I have to admit, at the beginning, I thought that's a bit scary because, you know, we're talking some of the biggest agencies in the world, and they want me, fairly, you know, little guy, to come in and tell them how to do things. But what's amazing is how dysfunctional some really large agencies actually are. So I realized that I actually have a lot to bring. And, you know, some really simple techniques, such as creating a kind of osmosis model where you have creative talent or different talents circulating different teams. So you have that transfer of knowledge and that transfer of experience and perspectives. Even the most simple things, like we do a lot in government. So a lot of government offices, especially in countries like Germany, have individual rooms. So you see a corridor with private rooms. This is a total productivity killer because you're basically closing the door to collaboration. So one simple thing you can do there is just remove all the doors, and then you've suddenly got a semi-open plan office, which basically says you're welcome to come and collaborate or share an idea. Also doing simple things like creating a Friday afternoon social lab where people are invited to have their lunch and discuss the best social things. This is the only way that you're going to move forward successfully, is by getting rid of some of the, I guess, rigidness, hierarchy, and kind of expectation that this is one person's job. And that's where at the beginning I spoke a lot about conscious leadership. This is about everybody realizing it's a joint contribution. I think, I don't know, Avi, if you have the same perception, but I'm not based in Dubai. And I have a very different understanding of how hierarchy takes place here. A lot of expats are hired in, pretty good salaries, have really high expectations set for them, and then they have to deliver. And so there's almost a shame and a difficulty to say, well, actually, we want to collaborate. We want to get external people to bring some ideas in. We want to change the whole process because their CEO is saying, listen, I brought you in and I want to see the results, and you're the person I hired to do that. So sometimes it's hard to communicate that that is not just one person's job. That's probably good news to everybody who's feeling a bit stressed in their job. Okay, so what have we got here? Don't forget, guys, we're looking at this for the first time. So content. Okay, so Emma has split this between user-generated content and authentic content. I think, this is something we've spoken about a lot, but as a brand, it's up to you to take control of the content creation process, to understand what content that you need to really deliver the right message for your brand. I don't know, Avi, you're working a lot in very, very tactical marketing. How far do you end up going with your clients on the content side of things, on the brand side?
You know what? Recently we discovered a few tools. I don't remember them off my head, but there's a gentleman called Tyler I met only 4 days ago. He's got a new tool, very interesting. So you put in the name of any hotel or resort or whatever, and everybody who's hashtag, all the guests, hundreds and thousands of guests who've hashtag pictures around that content, you find those. Then you can actually reach out to all of them saying, I'm the marketer, can I use your pictures? And so I think when those kind of tools come out, it's going to be revolutionary because you cannot just create great content every day on your own. Whereas if you source from the, from the masses, there's amazing content available out there.
Exactly. Yeah.
So motivate your clients to share their content in exchange for whatever points or.
A great example actually here. We did an event 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we worked with a photographer, and we invited everybody to do a content which was a reflection of a puddle, and to hashtag it Puddlegram. And we had 200 people out on the floor taking pictures of puddles everywhere. Because actually, for Instagram, that's the sort of content that really works well. It's this sort of perspectives that really work well. And I think, I might be mistaken, but I think this is some of the content that came out of that event. So it's not telling people to say, hey, great hotel, I love it. That's for TripAdvisor. But it's about giving people a different take on the experience and challenging them. This is kind of almost product development for marketing purposes. You could create a walking Insta trip or Insta walk of your local area as a hotel, especially if you're in maybe not the best part of town, but you think maybe this is what makes the hotel cool and interesting. Help them to discover those unique kind of spots that live in that place through an Insta trip. It's so simple. You could give them the card, and next thing you know, they're creating content that you can share, that you can build into that. So I think definitely it's a really good summary here, having the right mix of strong brand content which delivers your message and user-generated content.
They say on this note, they say the best, you're doing the best marketing when you've lost control of everything.
Yeah.
When your customers take over like this and you've lost control, that's when you build the community, and that's when marketing is working.
Exactly. It's not about letting go. User-generated content is not about just, taking the gloves off and saying, like, do whatever you want. This is about guiding your customers to create the right sort of content. Okay, so this is just a quick summary. We will share this. ROI came strong. These are the sticky notes on the wall, by the way. We didn't just make these up. We see ROI. We see connecting traditional setups to make the jump to innovation to digital. Really good points. I have to say, we work with destinations a lot, and we don't usually get such good points. So thanks a lot, guys. How can I prove my efforts are working? Yeah, very good. How do you go about calculating the benefit for a marketing spend? ROI again. And then on the tactical side, a couple of questions about transformation. How do we transform culture? Really good. I think mindset is something that both Avi and I spoke about. For the employee or the customer, maybe for both. I think, one of the things with agile teams is ownership. So if you work in a small team of 5 people, it's about having the sense of ownership over what comes out of that. You want to feel that if you've developed a concept for a chatbot, that when it's finally developed, that you can really, really say, hey, this is my baby. And you can actually, make sure it's delivered. What is the best practice for moving digital? And then, what's this? Knowing the target audience, personalization, and reaching out to people. So I think we've given some good tips on all of these things here. So yeah, we will share this. We might even finish it up a little bit more. But also this just shows you what can be done in 30 minutes with a remote team. It just shows you don't need all the traditional stuff. You don't need the structures that you maybe have. You can work in a totally different way. This is what we do. And we're actually having our global event, DTTT Global, on the 30th of November and the 1st of December. I might invite you, Avi, to do something there. And we're going to do a huge global innovation challenge where we'll ask the whole industry around the world to submit their biggest challenges, and we'll ideate for 2 weeks and come up with some really cool solutions. So if you're interested in that, you'll find it on our website. You can come and talk to me. We haven't launched it. But yeah, I just want to say a huge thanks to Avi. You've been great. Massive thanks to you guys, and thanks for joining us. And we'll be back next year for ATM 2018.